Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Chase with Jace. And as always, I am your host, Jace Lejeune. And as always, we got ourselves a loaded show for you. A lot of stuff going on. In the middle of a high school football season, we're already approaching week 6 of the high school football season, so it's hard to believe that we're already to that point, but unfortunately we are. And unfortunately, as it goes, with the blink of an eye, it looks like the season may be over just before we even get started, because it's just crazy. We're at this point of the season and we're already close to the end, but we're going to cherish every minute of it, and we're going to talk a lot about high school football. We got some great interviews for you that I conducted through Zoom, like I did last week's show. If you get the chance, and if you didn't get the chance to watch last week's show, I highly encourage it to go back and watch that one because it was a great show. We had a lot of great guests on that show. Obviously, Marcus Randall, who does normally does the Slinging with Marcus segment, talking about LSU football. And we also had a lot of great stuff in North Louisiana. If you go back, we had Jess Curtis, the head coach from Amite High School. We had the all-time leading rusher in Louisiana high school football history in Trey Holly. And we had an interview with our player of the week last week in Omarion Miller, who just so happens to be the one of the biggest recruits in the state of Louisiana for the class of 2023. And this week, we're going to do the same thing. We got a great interview set up for this week's Player of the Week as well. Unfortunately, Marcus will not be here today just because I'm not sure if you heard, but they got themselves a pretty big game this week on ESPNU. The Woodlawn Panthers take on the Zachary Broncos, and which was a very hyped up matchup before the start of the season, and it's expected to be a really good football game between two of the best teams, Baton Rouge football programs in the area, so it should be a great football game in district play. We'll talk a lot about that as the show goes on, but right now we got to talk about those LSU Tigers, who are now ranked in the top 25. How did they get there? Well, they had to go on the road to play an Auburn football team, which at this point you can say is pretty desperate, even though it's 3-1 entering that game. The Auburn Tigers, there are a lot of questions about that point. They're coming off a win the week before against Missouri, where you can say, I'm not sure if he exactly deserved to win the football game, with both Missouri and Auburn doing a lot of things, self-inflicted wounds to really hurt themselves. Missouri had a chance to win the football game in regulation. They missed a field goal. Also had a chance to win the football game in overtime, but when the running back was about to go and cross the plane, he fumbled the football out of the end zone, which by rule is a touchback for Auburn. Auburn wins the football game. So they came into this week with a lot of question marks, with a lot of rumors swirling over their heads about Brian Harsin, if he'll keep this job for another week. So there were, even though the Auburn Tigers came in with a 3-1 record, there were a lot of question marks and a lot of uncertainty around the football program. Meanwhile, LSU coming in with the same record as Auburn coming to the football game, it was very different. I mean, first-year head football coach Brian Kelly, a new coaching staff, bringing a lot of transfers over, trying to instill something in the program, still trying to feel their way around with a new offensive scheme, defensive scheme. There's a lot of new to the football program for the LSU Tigers, and there's a lot of uncertainty in that march just because they're really starting the program off with Brian Kelly coming in from Notre Dame. But they're coming off of 3 consecutive wins heading to that football game, so the Tigers were on an upswing entering that football game, including a win against Mississippi State. Now, let's recap this one for you. The Tiger Bowl, as it is always called, always a crazy game when you bring the two Tigers in the SEC West together. And it was a crazy game. It did live up to its usual hype. But it started off not looking like a good game for the LSU Tigers, as Auburn took a 17-0 lead early in the football game. Robbie Ashford had 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter. LSU's defense looked very It looked like the defense of old, like the last 2 years with Coach Orgeron. There were a lot of busted coverages. There was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of things. And Robbie Ashford, every time he went outside the pocket, he just made a play with his arm against the LSU Tigers defense. A lot of open looks, a lot of busted coverages, and you can tell LSU was kind of on their heels early in the football game. Auburn jumps out to a 17-0 lead. And Seven Banks has a serious injury in the opening kickoff. Everything was not going right for LSU early in that football game, and everything was going right for the home team for the Auburn Tigers. But what turned the pace of the game? What turned the game for the LSU Tigers was its defense. And like I said before when I wrote about takeaways from games in covering this LSU football team, this LSU defense is going to keep them in football games all season long. And even though they were a main reason why LSU was in the 17-0 hole, they really were the ones that kickstart LSU to get out of that hole. So down 17-0, LSU was on the road, on its heels. Auburn had the football again. Everything was going wrong for LSU. And then that was the play with B.J. Ojulari, number 18 for the LSU Tigers defense. He was awarded number 18, and he showed why. And that was, like Coach Kelly said, a captain's play. A play needed to be made by somebody. Something good had to happen for LSU. And B.J. Ojulari seized the opportunity, and he took advantage of it as he sacked Robbie Ashford, forced a fumble, and Jay Ward was right there at the right place at the right time to scoop it up and return it for a touchdown. So LSU was down at that point 17-7, but you knew when that play was made that the pendulum swung the other way around to the LSU Tigers, and it really gave LSU new life. It really did. 17-0 on the road. It's hard to win on the road no matter who you're playing in the SEC. And LSU fell behind 17-0. They needed a play. B.J. Ojulari makes it. And all of a sudden, a play like that, especially what your defense was able to do and make that play, it gave new energy for LSU. And then you look at 17-7, LSU gets the football late in the first half, and we've seen what this LSU offense is able to do right before halftime. We saw it against Mississippi State. We saw it plenty of times over the course of the season. When this LSU offense is in a 2-minute situation, that is when they're at their best. Now, they've had slow starts to football games. We've seen it all year long. But in this situation, 2 minutes left to go until halftime. Jaden Daniels uses his legs. Remember, that was the play where he scrambled. He lost his shoe, and he was still able to pick up a first down and plenty of more. Then he hit John Emery on the sidelines. That was a wheel route out of the backfield for Emery. Nobody covered Emery, and Emery ran down the sidelines, put them inside the one, and then 2 plays later, Jaden Daniels scores a touchdown for LSU. So it looked like after a game which was really dominated by Auburn, LSU goes into halftime only down by 3. Now that was really saying a lot for LSU. Only to be down by 3. I even made the comment at halftime that I thought both teams were probably fortunate to be in that situation. Auburn, I'm sure Auburn was happy that they're up 17-14, knowing with all the circumstances swirling around the program that they had a really good start to the first half. Meanwhile, if you're LSU, you did not play good. You did not start fast. You gave up 17 early points, but yet you're only down by 3 at halftime. I'm sure the LSU coaches were fortunate to be in that position. Now you go to the second half, and it was a lot of sloppy play in the second half. LSU puts up a really good drive, though, after Auburn went for on fourth down, being up 17-14, and they missed a field goal, too, earlier in that football game. So they gave LSU some opportunities to get back in the football game. LSU took their first lead in the third quarter when John Emery had a spectacular run. He hesitated when he got the football and jumped over a guy, hesitated then some, and then burst into the open field. It looked like he had his face mask being pulled from him, which was obviously a face mask penalty, but he still kept his feet and then high-stepped into the end zone to give LSU its first lead at 21-17. So LSU battled their way all the way back from 17 points down to put themselves up top at that situation, 21-17. Now Auburn was in a position too. They had a good drive going on. They're inside the red zone, and then all of a sudden they run a gadget play with Coy Moore, the receiver. I'm not really sure what Auburn was really thinking. Especially, it's hard to run a play like that when you're inside the 20-yard line. Maybe you run it like at the 50 at midfield, where you actually have yourself some room to actually make that play. But when the field condenses when you're inside the 20, it's hard to run a play like that. And I really don't get why Auburn ran that play. Coy Moore had some pressure immediately from Micah Baskerville. There was really nobody open. That should have been a play. Coy Moore should have taken it and not tried to throw the football, but he did. And you can't really fault a lot of it on Coy Moore. I mean, obviously he threw the pass. He shouldn't have thrown the pass, but Coy's not a quarterback. He doesn't take snaps all the time, and he was just trying to throw it up. But good awareness by Harold Perkins to make that interception and really bail the LSU defense out after it looked like Auburn would take the lead again. So LSU got a couple first downs, punted the football right back to Auburn, and then both teams kind of changed possessions. They both had the football for a while, didn't really do much of it, and then all of a sudden we get a string of 3 straight turnovers as Jay Bramley had a really good day punting the football, pinned one inside the 1-yard line early on, averaging about 44 yards a punt, so he's been obviously the most consistent piece to LSU special teams so far this season. Well, Auburn muffs a punt. Gerard Bernard Converse recovers. Looks like LSU has a chance to really run down the clock. But I think on the second play of that drive, John Emery fumbles the football, gives the ball right back to Auburn. And you're saying to yourself, LSU had a chance to really ice away the football game at that point. And LSU's defense was once again on the football field at a tough time during the football game. 2 minutes or left. Auburn got a couple first downs, and then it looked like Auburn was going to seize the momentum, but LSU's defense was able to put into that and stop it when Greg Brooks made a phenomenal and outstanding football play, and it was the play of the football game. He noticed that they were running the same play a couple of times in a row, and then Greg Brooks was actually able to sneak up on Coy Moore, steal the football away, and then give LSU the ball back on offense. It was, I would say, the play of the year up to this point for this LSU football team, the play that Greg Brooks made. Keep in mind, Greg Brooks is a veteran player in this league. This is his first year with the LSU Tigers, but keep in mind, he also played many years at Arkansas the last couple of seasons. So this is a veteran guy that made a veteran play, and it shows what kind of coaching and adjustments that Matt House has been making. He has really earned his money this year with his adjustments. And these, like he did against Mississippi State, this LSU defense shut out Auburn in the second half. I believe, I think it was a post-game comment made by Coach House that he said that Greg Brooks was going to pick this one off. And on that play, he said, like, Greg Brooks knows that play has been running over and over again. He's going to step up and make a play, and boy, did he make a play. Outstanding job by Greg Brooks to make that football play. LSU runs the rest of the clock, and LSU escapes Auburn and Jordan Hare with a 21-17 win over the Auburn Tigers in the Tiger Bowl. I said time and time again, no matter how good LSU is, how bad Auburn is, or vice versa, how bad LSU is, how good Auburn is, this is always a really good football game. We go back to the earthquake game, the game where the barn burned. You look at the Demetrius Byrd catch, and then the 5 interception game, the 5 missed field goal game. This has always been a crazy rivalry. And even LSU's best football team of all time, probably the greatest college football team of all time, they had trouble against that Auburn football team. And actually, that was really, out of all the games that season, that was when the LSU offense looked at least human in that 2019 season, and it was because of that Auburn defensive front. So this was always a really good rivalry, a really underrated football rivalry game between two really good SEC West programs, and it definitely lived up to the hype, as it always does, with a great football game. And LSU was able to escape that one. Have some takeaways. Obviously, you can go to gridironfootballusa.com for those takeaways. It's going to be on our website by the time you watch this show. So there were some positive takeaways, obviously, and there's some negative takeaways from this football game too. Positives, I thought you can run the football. And I even asked Coach Kelly this question last week when we met with Coach Kelly last Monday heading into the Auburn game. Like, what did you feel like the offensive line was up to that point in the season as far as running the football? And Coach Kelly said that we're not going to know until we get in the SEC play. And I think he really liked how his group played up front on the offensive line. That's even without arguably their best offensive lineman even playing in the football game in Garrett Dellinger. So having Miles Frazier step up at left guard, it really cemented this offensive line. We got our offensive line. LSU's got their offensive line. And as those five guys up front, Miles Frazier's your swing guy. He's your sixth guy. Both your freshmen who are going out absolutely studs in the next 2 years. They're your bookend tackles. Anthony Bradford, he's your big physical presence at right guard. And then we get Garrett Dellinger back at left guard. Charles Turner's your center. This offensive line is set. And that's good. That's good news. And really, with the running back rotation, which was going to be a question mark, I think all of the running backs played phenomenal. I know John Emery had the fumble, but still he had an amazing touchdown run. He's still shaking off the rust from not playing a football game in over a year. And we've seen what this running back rotation is. You have the explosiveness, the big play ability of John Emery, but you have the reliability of Josh Williams. He's going to give you the tough yards. He's going to go north and south. He's going to run hard. He's going to pass protect. He's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. He brings you reliability in this offense. You throw in Noah Kane, who is a big running back, and he's going to wear down opposing defenses late. So you have the football lead late in the football game. That's who you want to get the football to Noah Kane to wear out defenses. And then when you get Armani Goodwin back, who I think brings a little bit of a dimension from everything. I think he's your most complete back. So when hopefully he gets back healthy. I know he's going to be missing the next couple of games, but if you get him back healthy, I really like this LSU running game, and it's actually really surprised me to this point how much they've actually grown. So that's a positive, is what they're able to do running the football, and especially running down the rest of that clock, because they still needed a first down to pick up. No one in Auburn knew that they're going to run the football, and to still pick up a first down and ice the football game away, that was big for LSU. So I liked how they're able to run the football. Defensively, I love Matt House and how they're able to adjust. I mean, it shows you what kind of team this is, to able to adjust from being down 14-0 against Mississippi State, then you're down big 17-0, and to shut out both of those offenses in the second half and make adjustments. That's coaching, that's adjustments, and Matt House has earned his money and then some for what he's able to do in this first half of the season. He's been outstanding. This LSU team is also never going to give up, and that is a great quality to have. Any team that is going to not give up, not going to look at the scoreboard, is going to continue to play football, that is a sign in a football team that you normally don't really get to see. That is very rare in the football team to have. When you're not looking at the scoreboard, you're not pouting, you're not putting your head down, you're not panicking, that you're going to just focus on the next play and continue to call your back way in the football game. That is a positive sign of not only a football team, but a culture in a football program. And that has been installed in what Brian Kelly and all these coaches have done in just installing to this football program. And we've seen it. This team, the pride is back. Like, wearing the purple and gold jersey for LSU, it means something. And I feel like the last 2 years, we didn't really see that. We didn't really see a lot of the pride being bestowed for these players up at LSU. And I think you've actually starting to really see it from what they were able to do just in these first couple of weeks. So effort, grit, heart, all that is great. I love that from this LSU football team. But they need to show it. Obviously, they need to show it. But you need to add in the execution, the ability to start fast. It's great to end games fast and strong and play your best football in the fourth quarter. That's great. But you also need to start off with that sense of urgency, too, in the first quarter. And that's been a problem with really both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. It's been sluggish. Defensively, there are a lot of coverage busts in the first quarter, and out played in with the 2 touchdown drives that Auburn scored. Offensively, it was a rough day throwing the football. And I think it's really more of just a rough day. I think a lot of people are panicking right now about the passing offense and how that's had struggles, only 85 yards passing. Jaden Daniels had 80 yards passing. In the second half, LSU only had 5 passing yards in the second half. And I think a lot of it has to do with just quarterbacks and receivers not really being on the same page. There were a couple of drops. Mason Taylor had a couple of drops in that football game. But it wasn't just Mason Taylor. It was Keyshawn Butte had a drop in the game when Garrett Nussmeier came in the football game. Malik Neighbors had a couple of drops. Brian Thomas had a drop. So it was just contagious in that football game. And we've seen this. This is not the big play, explosive pass game offense, but it has shown to be an efficient offense. We've seen it. It was efficient against Mississippi State. It was efficient against New Mexico. It was efficient in the second half against Florida State. So I think it was just really a bad game. And we know about the talent about this offensive receiving room. We bragged about it all offseason, that there's a lot of talent in this receiver room. And I do trust that LSU is going to make adjustments to being more efficient. I'm not worried about that. But I do want to see the big passing plays in this offense. I love how Jay Daniels is not putting his team in harm's way. He's not turning the football over. He's not throwing interceptions. But at the same time, you can take an aggressive shot here and there. Especially with these receivers, like that's why they're here for, to throw them the football. And you're going to throw a couple of interceptions. That's fine. But be aggressive while doing it. Be smart while doing it. If you throw an interception 60, 70 yard, you try to throw a 67 yard pass, and the defensive back just makes a good play, well, that's mostly like equivalent to a punt. But don't make the dumb decision like on first down, and then throwing into double coverage like that. That's different. You can be aggressive and smart at the same time, and hopefully LSU takes a little bit more of those deep shots down the football field. All in all, was it the most efficient game? No. Was it like the prettiest game to watch offensively? No, it was not. But LSU went on the road, got a victory. Even you say it was a struggling Auburn team, they still were able to go on the road in a hostile environment and get a SEC win down by 17 points. So that says a lot about the fight in this LSU football team. So they improved to 4-1, and they put themselves in a position to be in the top 25. So ranked matchup against the Tennessee Volunteers. And the Tennessee Volunteers are rolling right now inside the top 10 in the polls. They got Hendon Hooker at quarterback, who right now, if I had to choose my Heisman frontrunner, it's Hendon Hooker. What he's able to do throwing the football. He's just been outstanding this year. Josh Heupel comes in, and he's really turned around this Tennessee football program. What he was able to do with just his innovative offensive philosophy. This is the fastest up-tempo team in all of college football. As soon as they run a football play, they're going to run and make and snap the football again on another play. That's just who they are. They're fast. They're up-tempo. They are loaded at the wide receiver position. They can score. They have a lot of mismatches with their wide receivers. They got about 3 or 4 different really good receivers, and one of them hasn't really been playing, Cedric Tillman, who's been their top receiver last year. But they got 2 or 3 other guys that have been really outstanding. So this is going to be the toughest task of the year to this point for this LSU secondary. But they held their own against really good passing teams. And we've seen against Mississippi State. Will Rogers, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, we know what they can do in the air raid offense and throwing the football. So at least LSU has seen an attack similar to like this with a team that's going to spread the football out and is going to throw the football a lot. Now, did I say was that their best performance last week against Auburn's passing attack? I wouldn't say it wasn't. I mean, it was not. But they're able to limit a lot of that in the second half. It was pretty sloppy in the first half, but they're able to overcome a lot of it in the second half, and it's because of their play. But this is going to be really different. Hendon Hooker hasn't thrown an interception yet. Both these quarterbacks are among the tops in the country of protecting the football and being efficient with the football. And then add in with all the passing yards, the touchdowns that Hendon Hooker was able to throw this year. That's why he's my Heisman front runner right now. And if he has a big-time performance and a road victory against LSU, I think the noise is going to be even, amped up even more as far as the Heisman goes. If he goes on the road against a really good LSU defense and performs well. Now, I think really the key to this football game, because I think LSU's defense, it's going to be a heavyweight matchup. I think LSU's defense is going to get a lot of football plays. They're going to make a lot of plays because they're that good defensively. But I think Tennessee's that good offensively that they're going to make plays too. LSU's not going to completely shut down this Tennessee offense. So really, the key to this football game is LSU's passing offense in this football game. This is when LSU's passing offense needs to grow up. Like, Jayden Daniels needs to be at his absolute best. Kayshon Boutte needs to be the playmaker that we all hyped him up to be in the preseason. We need that LSU needs that Kayshon Boutte from last year and the year before to go off. And this receiver core needs to go off. This is the game where they need to back it up as far as why a lot of people are saying that LSU wide receiver core is the most talented in the country. This is a game that you need to back it up. So we'll see if that's the case. If LSU has a really good offensive day, I think LSU can get the win. I really do. And I think they can get enough in their defense. I just think that the offense for LSU needs to step it up and get some more explosive plays and get some more points on the scoreboard, because that's what's going to happen. Tennessee's fast-paced offense, I mean, LSU's defense is going to keep you in games. I've said that over and over again, but at the same time, it's going to be up to the offense to score enough points to come out with a victory, and this is going to be the moment where Jayden Daniels has to prove it, this offense has to prove it, and they really have to have an efficient game and really keep Tennessee's defense off balance all game long. Really what the best defense is, keeping that offense off the football field. So if they can have an efficient game plan, and keeping Hendon Hooker and the Tennessee Volunteers off the football field, then that is really just step one. So it should be a great game. 11 o'clock kickoff in Tiger Stadium. Number 8 team in the country, Tennessee, versus number 25 team in the country, LSU. I think this is a very underrated football game, especially compared to a lot of the other matchups going on around the country. It's going to be a really big game for the LSU Tigers, and I'm looking forward to being there. I'll be there. I'll be doing the game recap, covering the football game. Go to GridironFootballUSA.com for all the coverage of this football game after the conclusion of LSU and Tennessee. This is a game we don't see a lot of. The last time LSU and Tennessee played in this football game, at Tiger Stadium, you probably remember it, and that was back in 2010, where Tennessee had 13 players on the football field. Looked like they were going to win the football game, but when that penalty happened, gave LSU an extra chance, gave them an extra play, and they were able to score a touchdown to win the football game. And what is probably the craziest finish I've ever seen from an LSU football game was that game. It was definitely unbelievable. I still can remember the day that I was mad, went outside, that LSU lost the football game, and I thought they lost the football game. And then one of my uncles came and said, "Oh, the game's not over." I was like, "What do you mean the game's not over?" It's like, LSU has another play. And so we actually watched the next play after that. And then insanity came upon the Tennessee Volunteers for the play after that. Well, that is basically my recap for LSU and Auburn, as well as a look ahead to LSU and Tennessee. Make sure to check us next week. Hopefully get Marcus Randall back. We'll catch up a lot of things with LSU and Auburn and whatever happens with LSU Tennessee. But when we go to commercial break, before we get there, you'll get the chance to hear a lot of what Coach Kelly had to say. A lot of it has to do with the last game against Auburn, but a lot of it also has to do with the upcoming matchup, the top 25 ranked matchup in Tiger Stadium at 11 o'clock between the LSU Tigers and the Tennessee Volunteers. You're watching the Chase with Jace. Hear what Coach Kelly had to say about the upcoming matchup.
This is Chase With Jace of Gridiron Football. Good morning, Coach. Good morning. Well, I just want to ask you, Coach, about just going against the up-tempo type of offense like Tennessee that runs plays really quickly. And I know always defensively being in the right place and communicating is always very important, but how much more that is emphasized, especially against an offense that runs plays as quickly as Tennessee does.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? What this offense does is they can't do a lot, right? They can't motion, they can't shift, they can't formation you to death, but you can't do quite as much on defense either, right? You've got to get lined up and you've got to get your cleats in the ground. So, a lot of this comes down to winning one-on-one matchups. So being fundamentally sound, tackling, playing the ball in the air, defeating one-on-one blocks. People talk about this being, a spread offense and it being, one of these, kind of newer offenses, but it really breaks this game down to winning one-on-one matchups to the probably the most pure sense. And that's what we'll have to do defensively. We're going to have to win a lot of one-on-one matchups.
Josh Heupel's done a great job in a very short period of time of, putting his stamp on this team. It is a fast-paced team. They're the fastest team in college football. They snap the ball with an average of about 20 seconds on the clock. It's led by Hendon Hooker, who I got a chance to go against when he was at Virginia Tech. He is talented. He's big. He's physical. He can throw the football. He runs it, and he's got playmakers. They're electric at the slot with Hyatt. You've got a big body guy in Brew McCoy. Tillman obviously didn't play last week, but he's obviously an alpha out there for them. And whether he plays or not, they are talented at the wide receiver position. Big, physical up front. They want to run the football. And then defensively, you've got athletes all over the place. On the front, they played 12 players on their defense in the defensive line. So they're rolling guys in and out. So I think, a team that is deserving of their ranking, they've earned it. They're talented on both sides of the ball. Special teams, aggressive. I think they've got, something like 15 kickoffs and half go to the right, half go to the left. A very talented kicking team. So a great challenge for our group, one that we're looking forward to. 11 a.m. start, so get there early. Look, I'd like to be the cheerleader here and say, hey, come out early and get going. But look, it's Tiger Stadium. It's LSU football. If you're not excited for that, I don't know what gets you going in October. There's time to do other things, but LSU playing Tennessee, in Tiger Stadium. Tell me what else is better to do. This is an awesome opportunity. So please come out and support your LSU Tigers. I think look, I mean, part of this is building trust with a new quarterback. Obviously we're trying to get him the football. He's getting a lot of double coverage. We're still winning. He's happy that we're winning. Look, all those guys that make decisions about who the best receivers are in the country are still going to look at Kayshawn and go, that's a really, really good wide receiver. Numbers are numbers. At the end of the day, he's going to continue to play this game at the next level, and the numbers won't dictate where he gets drafted. It's his ability to continue to play the game at the highest of levels, and when you turn on the film and he's running full speed and he's beating guys and the ball didn't come to him for some whatever reason, that's out of his control. So what Kayshawn continues to do better each and every week is he controls what he can control. And he does that in practice now, and he does that in games. He was happy we won the football game. Would he like the ball more? Absolutely. Would I like to get it to him more? Absolutely. But he's handled himself. In the right way, and he continues to work for the team. Everybody should be, asking the same questions. But I will tell you that it starts with putting together a comprehensive plan that can be repeated in the game. And the guy that has his hands on the ball is the quarterback. And he's going to get most of the notoriety when we do well, and he's going to get a lot of the blame when it doesn't go well. So the quarterback is part of this. The wide receivers have got to be better at attention to detail. Their routes have to be better. We've got to throw it better and catch it better. There were probably 5 or 6, and you probably can all remember them, where there needed to be a little bit better of a throw and a little bit better of a catch. And so that also goes to play calling. We've got to be able to look at, are these the plays that we can repeat? And are we doing too much? I think we're looking at it in all of those areas, because this is not going to work. We can't throw for 85 yards with the talent that we have and expect to beat the top 10 teams in the country. The development of our football team will continue to take place through this month. And I think the more germane question is, how do you get off to a better start against Power 5 teams so you're not have to rally in the second half? And what I will make clear when I get a chance to talk to the team is having heart and, fighting the way we do, that's not going to get it done against Tennessee. That's not going to get it done against Florida or Mississippi or Alabama. We're going to have to execute better. Our details are going to have to be better technically, tactically. We got to coach better. So hopefully what's come out of this is that we've learned that our preparation is going to have to be so much better. And then bring the heart. Then bring that fight. Because you're going to need that too. But you can't just rely on that and play sloppy football and expect to win these games.
Welcome back to the Chase with Jace, and hope you enjoyed that segment of myself talking a little bit about LSU football. As you clearly see, this is a LSU-friendly show on the Chase with Jace, as they got a big-time matchup this weekend against the Tennessee Volunteers. LSU Tigers get this game at home, and this could be the biggest victory of the LSU Brian Kelly era if LSU Tigers happen to pull it off this Saturday. It would be a huge win for the program, really for both programs. I think if LSU wins the football game, that would be understandably huge for the LSU Tigers as far as like everybody, the fans, the culture, everybody believing in the LSU Tigers under Brian Kelly. I think it could really prove a lot of doubters wrong if LSU was able to get the victory, and the same can be said for Tennessee. They did get a hard-fought win against Florida. They were able to win in overtime against Pittsburgh. So if they can go on the road and defeat LSU, that would be obviously huge for Tennessee. And Josh Heupel, and really making this team the next step and becoming good to potentially becoming a contender for an SEC championship, and possibly being even beyond that if they can go on the road and get a victory against LSU. So obviously it's going to be a huge game. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited to cover it too. Let's transition into some high school football, and once again for week number 5. There are a lot of great performances in Louisiana high school football, including our player of the week. Once again, for 2 straight weeks in a row, myself and Tyler Barrows, we actually talked about the players of the week. We went over them, and we made our pick on who the top performance was in week 5 for Gridiron Football. So week 5, top performance of the week, and if you look at his stats, you can't argue against it. Check out who our week 5 Gridiron Football Player of the Week is right now. Hello everyone, I'm Chase With Jace from Gridiron Football here for the Gridiron Football Week 5 Player of the Week show. Here with Tyler Barrows. Once again, 2 weeks in a row, Tyler, getting on the show. Yeah, great to be back with you. And Will Lamphere is actually working the cameras for us here today, and helping us edit a lot of the videos that you'll be seeing in the Player of the Week video too. Before I go any further, I just want to say thank you to all the Louisiana high school football coaches that sent in their nominee for Player of the Week. And keep in mind that all of these players that are mentioned today were sent by the coaches. So if there's like a player that hasn't been talked about today and say, well, he should have been on here, well, the coach probably didn't get a chance to see it, the email I sent, and then turn theirs in. So that's really it. So you have to turn your player in if you want your player to be mentioned on the show, because we have about 25 coaches sent in a player this week. So if you want your player to be mentioned on the show, make sure to send your nomination. You'll probably get an email from me about Friday or so, and a text from me. So you can't avoid me. So I got your contact. So make sure to fill in your nominee if you think there's a player on your football team that deserves to be mentioned on the show. Because we don't just mention the number 1 guy. We mention everybody that is mentioned. So, but Tyler, great to have you back. And Madison Prep is off with another win against Mentorship Academy. It was a big-time win for the Chargers.
Yeah, it was a big-time win for a young team. Went down to Memorial Stadium right off 110 over there. And, just a big overall team performance. I mean, I think in the first half, I think the offense scored a couple touchdowns. The defense came up with a pick 6. And then the special teams unit came up with a punt return for a touchdown. So, I mean, all the units are playing well, and they did their job. And now they got a couple more games ahead of them. Got Port Down this week, and then some tough schedules down the road. They got U High coming up.
Yeah, pretty good team there.
The 14th, and then Warren Easton after that. So you're gonna have 2 back-to-back games that are very difficult, but some very good teams. But it's gonna be some great football. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and Scoutinville is off to a good start too. I know Will's been covering the Hornets for Scoutinville, and they got a big victory over undefeated Rumble team that actually defeated U High. So that was a big win for Scotlandville to get that win. And you can make an argument they probably played the toughest schedule in the state so far with West Monroe and the Carr, and a powerhouse team in Oklahoma they had to play. So, but yeah, keep up with Will and Tyler. They did an excellent job of covering those football teams, and they right throughout the whole week they cover each a part of the country they cover, and they interview some of the top players from those areas. So they'll continue to do a good job, and just make sure to check them out at our website again at gridironfootballusa.com. So this is week 5. It's hard to believe that we're halfway through the regular season already.
It's already October. I can't believe it's October.
We're getting to some fall weather. Like I went to a game this Thursday. It was Kentwood and Amite, and I had to bring my jacket. It was the first time I was like, okay, I'm bringing my jacket. We got some fall weather coming up. So
down in Memorial, it was a little chilly down there. I was thinking, I wish I had a jacket. I was hoping I had one, but I didn't. But,
yeah, wasn't as chilly on Friday, but we're still getting that weather. It's getting a little bit cooler out there, which is great for high school football. Now, we're going to dive right into it with the honorable mentions. Now, this week, since there's not over about 30 guys this week, we're going to do a top 15, and the rest of these guys were just guys that missed out, had good performances, but just missed out the top 15. So here are some honorable mentions. We're going to quickly go through them. Northlake Christian running back Cam Casnave had 25 carries, 190 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Dutchtown running back Gary Dukes, 19 carries, 160 yards, averaged about 8 yards a carry, and had 2 touchdowns. Eunice wide receiver Tylen Cooper, he was on the list last week, and he was actually on the list before that too when we did the show with Andy. 10 catches, 155 yards, and a touchdown was on the list this week. Southside running back Aaron Ford, 16 carries, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a catch for 20 yards and a receiving touchdown. David Kinsey was on our list last week as an honorable mention, and he is back this week as an honorable mention again. 10 carries for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had a 92-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Is actually going to be the first of many guys who will say it today. Had a couple rushing touchdowns and then kickoff return for a touchdown. Yeah. There's a couple of guys like that. This week, Cecilia quarterback Jermani Davis led his team to a win over a really good Notre Dame football team in Crowley, 25-24. Threw for 196 yards, ran for 101 yards and a touchdown. So he accounted for 300 yards of offense for Cecilia. And then the Auburn Woods running back Carlos Alejo, 19 carries for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Auburn Woods charter running back Carlos Alejo again. And then the last guy was a guy that I saw on Thursday and was the difference maker in that football game. Amite played Kentwood. In that parish, those are the 2 most accomplished football teams in that parish of Tangipahoa. Amite linebacker Earl Tillman was the difference. Had 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and those 2 sacks were the last 2 plays of the football game. When Kentwood was driving to try to tie the football game up, he stepped up on 3rd and 4th down with 2 straight sacks. And then he had a strip fumble at the goal line, which is the biggest play of the football game. Gave Amite the football back as Kentwood was trying to score a touchdown at the goal line to try score and tie the football game up. So that was a huge play in that football game. And Earl Tillman was the guy that made things happen and really sealed the victory for the Warriors. So those are your honorable mentions in Gridiron Football Week 5 Top Players of the Week. And you also will see our article, too, that we put up. We'll mention all these guys' stats. We'll mention we'll show their highlights and all that. So if you're watching the show on YouTube, you can go back to our website. We'll have all the nominees and all the players on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. But Tyler, this is where I have you in, man. Yes, so we're going to count down the top 15 names, the top 15 performances from week number 5. Just in case you missed the first couple of weeks, we had a quarterback 2 weeks ago. We started off with a couple of running backs, including one that's going to be on this list that you'll see. And then last week we had a wide receiver, Amarion Miller from North Caddo. I actually did an interview with him on the Chase With Jace show, so check that out. Actually, all the interviews, we'll interview everybody that's number 1 on the list every week. So whoever's the number 1 player on this list, we'll do an interview with him. and that was on the Chase with Jace. So we interviewed Omarion Miller from North Caddo, so check that out. It's on the Gridiron Football YouTube channel, and if you go to Chase with Jace playlist, it's on there on last week's show. But wide receiver last week, so he had a huge game. A little bit different.
Yeah.
So this was week 5. So far we had 2 running backs, 1 quarterback, and 1 wide receiver. Let's see who makes the list at their number 1 spot. But before that, we got to start off at number 15.
All right, let's get into it. Number 15, game you covered actually.
Yeah.
Episcopal running back Braden George.
Yeah, that was a fun game to cover, and I should probably show you the highlights right here from that game on VSN. Check it out. But Braden George, what a football game it was. I knew when we got the schedule from VSN, our broadcast schedule, that this was going to be the game in the regular season. That was going to be a really good one. And I circled that game, and it didn't disappoint. Braden George was the reason why Episcopal was able to win the football game. 3 touchdowns, scored 2 on offense, and actually the game was tied. They were trailing the entire game in the third quarter. That's when he had the interception return for a touchdown and give them their first lead. Ascension Catholic took the lead back, and then he scored another touchdown on offense to give them the lead for sure, 33-28. So he accounted for about 20 of the 33 points in that game, which paid the difference, or which made a difference in that football game against Ascension Catholic, which is a really good football team. So Episcopal running back Braden George is at number 15. What a football game it was to call. It was definitely a fun one to call for sure.
Yeah, a close game too, for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Especially the ending.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like from the press box, it did look like Ascension Catholic's receiver had 1 foot in. I'm sure Ascension Catholic fans would definitely agree with that.
Oh, no.
But either way, I mean, it was still a great football game with 2 great football teams, and you expected it to come down to a play like that, and it did. It just happened to go the Knights' way, and the Knights are actually undefeated still at 5-0 right now. But huge win. Let's go to number 14, Tyler. Who's number 14?
Number 14, we have De La Salle running back P.J. Martin.
And that's another guy that was on the list last week. So you're going to hear familiar names from last week's show. So De La Salle running back P.J. Martin, I talked about last week that De La Salle is known for running the football. They've had a lot of great running backs, including one that's starting at Florida. He's a starting Florida running back, Montrell Johnson. And P.J. Martin is the next really good running back for De La Salle. 29 carries, 186 yards, 30 touchdowns, had 240 yards of offense, and a 28-13 win over East Ascension. And East Ascension is one of the biggest teams that you'll see physically out there. So running for 200 yards against that defense, very impressive for P.J. Martin. So let's see who is number 13, Tyler.
Right, at 13, we have another guy from last week, Pope John Paul running back Blaze Rodriguez.
And we joked last week that this is the perfect name for a running back, Blaze.
Yeah,
Blaze, running the blaze of glory right there, blaze of fury. Now, with these stats, 5 carries for 173 yards and 4 touchdowns. So only 1 carry, he did not score a touchdown.
Only 1.
It averaged 34 yards per carry in a 51-0 victory over Crescent City Christian. I mean, that's pretty amazing right there for Blaze Rodriguez when he only touched the football 5 times and scored 4 of them. Probably not a lot of dirt on his jersey that night.
Not a lot. No. I don't think he was getting touched a lot either that night.
No, he was not. We go into number 12, Tyler.
Number 12, we have Opelousas safety Colin Fontenot.
Colin Fontenot with an impressive stat line for safety. I mean, safeties are not known for making a lot of tackles. But, yeah, Colin Fontenot did 15 tackles. 15 tackles. That's something you usually see from a linebacker, but this was actually a safety. 15 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and a 56-20 win over Leesville. It seemed like Colin Fontenot was all over the field this past Friday night for Opelousas. And a sneak preview is one of 2 Opelousas Tigers we'll be saying on this list.
Yeah.
Yep, so we'll go into number 11, and number 11 is definitely a selection that's definitely out of the ordinary.
A little mix-up, I guess.
Yeah, talk about a big mix-up. It really was. But tell us who this out-of-the-ordinary selection is.
We got from Archbishop Hannon, offensive lineman Bo Armstrong.
You heard that right. Offensive lineman Bo Armstrong. You know, the offensive line, there's not like any measurable you can say where, like, okay, he had 15 carries or whatever because
there's
no big statistic.
Yeah.
But when a head football coach texts you, Jace, I'm not sure if y'all do offensive linemen for Player of the Week, but when Coach Corey Bordelon says, this guy is the rock of our football team and he deserves it, I said, Coach, I can't argue against you. If you think he's a Player of the Week nominee, we'll give it to him. But he's played tackle, guard, center last week. Okay. He led the team in pancakes in the victory last week. I'm not sure how you really grade this or score this, but he graded it out at 95 from my calculations go back in high school. I think that's an A+. So 95 he was graded, and the offense ran for 289 yards rushing, and he was a big part of that in a 35-6 win over St. Thomas Aquinas. I was a former offensive lineman once, so I have to give a shout out to the big boys up front. And Bo Armstrong, you go, man, representing all those big guys up front. You're a Player of the Week. So that inspires all offensive linemen out there that will keep an eye on you. And if you do your job, you'll be a Player of the Week nominee, just like offensive lineman Bo Armstrong is.
Hey, that's where it all starts, man. It all starts in the trenches. You don't have any of these big, flashy plays, all these runs, these throws, without the lineman.
That's
right. It all starts with y'all. That's
a PSA out to the offensive linemen out there. Yes, so just outside our top 10, which is pretty loaded. Pretty loaded top 10 for sure. And we go to number 10.
Let's get to it.
Get to
it. Top 10. At number 10, we have Terrellins Catholic quarterback Preston Welch.
Well, this is another guy we had last week. This time, Preston's in our top 10. And as far as junior quarterbacks go, he's only a junior. Like, he's one of the top 2024 quarterbacks in the state. Him, you have Catholic High's quarterback, Daniel Beal. He's another one. As far as a junior goes, this kid, I mean, he's very impressive. He's about 6'3", over 200 pounds. He can sling it. He can sling the rock. Has an off-RA from UAB. In a 38-0 win over Burbridge, he had 5 touchdown passes in the first half, and not only in the first half, in the first 18 minutes of the football game, was 10 of 11 for 179 yards to 4 different receivers, had touchdown catches in the football game, and he only played a half. He didn't play the second half. So imagine if he played the entire game, what that stat line could be.
Yeah, no kidding. Big game right there.
Yeah. 5 touchdowns off of 10 completions. Half the completions he had were touchdown passes.
50% right there.
He's 50% just for touchdowns. That, yeah. 5 for 10. So, unbelievable.
Great game.
Yep. So we go to the ground and pound a little bit these next couple of picks.
Yeah, we'll go back to the running backs a little bit. So number 9, we have Delcom running back Jackson Wiggins. Another guy from last week.
Yep. These next couple of names are guys you've heard about, and Jackson Wiggins is on this list again, inside the top 10, 26 carries, 246 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 48-14 win against Westminster Christian Academy. And watch out, Delcom is 4-1, and a lot of it has to do with Jackson Wiggins toting the rock.
Yep. Here we go. So number 8, we have Ouachita Parish running back Carl Dell Sermons.
Carl Dell Sermons was our Gridiron Football Week 2 Player of the Week. So we can definitely mention him, and trust me, this guy's a stud. He's only a junior, and like if you haven't heard this kid's name, like you better hear about it right now. He's a stud. He was our Week 2 Player of the Week, and by definition from our rules, if you win it once this year, you can't win it again. But we'll definitely mention you. As much time as coaches send in nominees, we'll mention Cardell every single time. 48-28 win over Ouachita Christian. Ouachita Christian is a powerhouse program in the smaller schools, 2A and 1A, but still a big win for Ouachita. Cardell Sermons had 22 carries, 311 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Insane numbers. And this guy gets a little bit bigger. Watch out, because he is lightning in a bottle. You cannot catch this kid, and he's very special. And this has been a year for running backs in Louisiana, and he's another reason why North Louisiana. It's not just Trey Holly, it's not just Jalen Williams from Mangum, but this kid's really good too. You have to put his name on the list too. So he's our number 8 spot with a 311-yard performance and 4 touchdown performance. So when you run for 311 yards and 4 touchdowns, who can be higher than that? But trust me, we got 7 more names that are higher than number 8.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the defense side of the ball, at number 7, we have East Jefferson safety Jalen Gilliard.
Jalen Gilliard's a safety and a quarterback. Does a little bit of everything for East Jefferson. Actually had 2 touchdowns on offense, but that's not why he's number 7. He's number 7 because he had 2 touchdowns on offense and 3 interceptions on defense and had an interception return for a touchdown. So he had 3 touchdowns, 2 on offense, 1 on defense, and he defeated Higgins 35-16. Higgins came to that football game undefeated, and the East Jefferson quarterback, Jalen Gilliard, said, "Not so fast," but did his best Corso impersonation and said, "Not so fast, your undefeated season's over." And it's because of Jalen Gilliard and what they were able to do against Higgins. 2 touchdown passes, 3 touchdowns overall in the game, and had 3 interceptions.
Did it all for the team, man. Put the team on your back. You go out there at the quarterback position, and then out here, pick 6 for defense, big time.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of advantage knowing that you're the quarterback, but you're also a defensive back because you know what the quarterback's thinking because you're a quarterback yourself.
That is true. I didn't even think about it like that.
So I'm sure that helped him with those 3 interceptions.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Yep. So we'll go to number 6. Once again, a familiar name on this list.
Yeah. No, another one. We got a Kaplan fullback, Caden Campese.
24 carries, 234 yards, 6 touchdowns from your fullback. Unbelievable. Just run that dive play over and over and over again when you got a ball carrier like Caden Campese in a 50-19 win over Beauchene. 6 touchdowns from a fullback. I think we've seen it all, Tower.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, from the fullback position, that's pretty impressive. I mean, they must have been running dive keep all night. And hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right. That's my mentality too. If it ain't broke, just don't fix it. I mean, the guy's going off like that.
Over and over and over. Might as well keep doing it.
Yeah. It's crazy we haven't been in our top 5. Now, this is our top 5 performances for week 5.
Alrighty, at number 5 we have Rose Pine running back Grant Ducott.
It's actually Ducote. I'm not going to pick on you there.
No.
Just making sure the parents don't get mad out there.
Sorry.
But you're good. You're good, Tower. Grant Ducote. And this is actually the alma mater of our boss, Andy Bryson, Rose Pine High School graduate. And Grant Ducote, he's been playing for a long time for Rose Pine. In fact, I think he had 30-something touchdowns, 3,000 yards rushing last year. He totes the rock from quite a lot. And actually, carries-wise, he didn't touch the football too much, for his standards. Yeah. But when he did touch the football, he made most of the opportunities. 12 carries, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging about 18 yards of carry. And then... Actually 19. And then he had a kickoff return for a touchdown. So 3 touchdowns off of 13 times he actually touched the football. So make most of the opportunities. Yeah. Grant Ducote definitely did in a 54-10 win over DeQuincy.
Yep. Alrighty. At number 4, we have another Opelousas guy, quarterback Zach Malvo.
You got it right. You're rebounded, Tyler. There you go. You're getting better at it, man.
There you go.
Number 4, Zach Malvo, like I mentioned before. It was going to be another Opelousas guy that makes this list, and it was him. And he had 141 yards rushing. Talk about dual threat. 141 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, and also threw for 107 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So 248 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 56-20 win over Leesville. Wow. He did. I mean, he was a touchdown machine for him. No doubt about that. For Zach Malvo. Good game for the Tigers.
Yeah. Pretty good game right there. I mean, come on, 6 touchdowns in one game.
Yeah.
Quarterback too. It's awesome.
But trust me, in a sneak preview of who number 1 may be, 6 touchdowns might not cut it.
Yeah, I don't think it will cut it. No.
We go into our top 3, Tyler.
Alrighty, at the top 3, we have another quarterback from Boogallasa, Ashton Len.
So I'm gonna help you out there. Bogalusa.
Bogalusa. I was practicing this earlier too. That's the funny part. And I got to it, and I was like, I just lost it.
And my head Ryan's at fault for the name too. Ashton Levi is the name for the Bogalusa quarterback. But I take fault in the handwriting for sure. For that assist on that. But Ashton Levi is a great quarterback. He's a senior and great quarterback under Cyril Crutchfield, who's the head football coach. And he's a reason why Bogalusa had himself a great year last year. I made it pretty deep in the playoffs, and he's having a really good year this year. He's another dual threat. 11 for 19, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 16 carries for 159 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. If you add the numbers up, Tyler, that's 404 yards and 5 touchdowns for Ashton Levi. And guess what? That sets up a matchup this week. Bogalusa plays Amite, which should be a really good football game. Bogalusa's offense against Amite's defense. That should be very exciting to watch. And get your popcorn ready for that one, because Ashton Levi is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana this year. And he had a great performance, over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I mean, it's all about the dual quarterback these days, man. If you can't run it and throw it, I mean, gotta do both now. Yeah. There's too many mobile quarterbacks out there that can do it all. So.
Yeah, he definitely can do it all. Yeah. And he does a lot for the Lumberjacks, for Bogalusa. Now, number 2 and number 1 is a unique situation you don't find yourselves in every single day. Number 2 and number 1, I'm going to just do a quick spoiler for this one. They're both from the same football team. Both from the same team for number 2 and number 1. But before we go who number 1 is, or player of the week is, who is number 2?
Alrighty, at number 2 we have Benton wide receiver Pearce Russell.
He's a really good one up in North Louisiana. Really good wide receiver. He's a senior, and he is a go-to guy. And Benton, they can score. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to go into a little bit more. But wide receivers, like, we talk about the year of the running backs and all that, but last week, number 1 and number 2 was a wide receiver, and this week, number 2 is a wide receiver. Pearce Russell, 12 catches, 273 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns. And he did it against a really good football team in Byrd, CE Byrd High School. 63-28 win. Pearce Russell, take yourself a bow, young man. 4 touchdown receptions, almost 300 yards receiving on 12 catches. I wonder who they threw the football to that night.
I guess they were throwing Pearce, man, because he was all over the field.
Wow, unbelievable. 12 catches, 273 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Who can beat that? Who can beat that stat line? Well, as far as our Week 5 Gridiron Football top player of the week for week number 5, maybe it's the guy that threw him the football as our number 1 spot. Tell us a little bit more about who our top player of the week is.
At number 1, we have Benton quarterback Gray Walters.
Senior quarterback up in North Louisiana. Everybody's talking about all the quarterbacks in the state. Everybody's talking about Arch Manning. Everybody's talking about Ricky Collins and Eli Holstein. There's a lot of great quarterbacks in South Louisiana. But don't forget about the quarterbacks up in North Louisiana too. Because Benton quarterback Gray Walters is a player that's played a whole lot over his career. He's a senior. And he just says, I'm going to just have my conventional 22 for 32 completions for 515 yards. And here is the kicker, and why Gray is our number 1 player of the week. 8 touchdown passes. I'm not exaggerating. That is 8. The number that is between 7 and 9. That's it. 8 touchdown passes for Gray Walters versus Byrd. Wow. They scored. Have yourself a game, young man. 515 yards, 8 touchdowns, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the state. He's a senior. And good for Benton and Coach Reynolds Moore, because you know what their last 2 weeks were like? Last week, they lost against Airline. They put up 59 points on the scoreboard and lost the football game. And Airline, if you look that back at last week, they had the quarterback number 4 the receiver number 2. They lost to those guys last week. And then the week before that, they played some dude named Arch Manning and Newman. And some guy, Arch Manning. And they put 52 points up on the scoreboard and lost. So the offense hasn't been the problem for him.
No, it's not at all. Especially Gray Walters and this Pearce-Russell combination.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
deadly.
Half his touchdowns were just to Russell.
Right, just to Pearce.
He had another 4 more.
Right. There was actually conversation, like, should we put Pearce number 1 and Gray number 2? Since we did a wide receiver last week, might as well go back to the quarterback, give the quarterback some love. 8 touchdown passes. You're not going to see that one every day. So congratulations to Benton senior quarterback Gray Walters. You are Gridiron Football Week 5 Player of the Week. And I might make an exception for this week. I might talk to Coach Moore. We may get both Gray and Pearce to do the interview because do a combination. I mean, might as well. When you have number 1 and number 2 out of all the players in Louisiana come on the same team, that is very impressive. Wow, what a week it's been for the Benton Tigers.
Week 5 is electric.
Yep, watch out for Benton offensively. I think they're actually top 2 in the entire state in scoring this year. They can definitely score with the best of them. So, what do you think of the list, Tyler, as far as Gray Walters being our top pick for this week?
I mean, you had to put him there. I mean, 8 touchdowns. You don't hear about that every day. Let's just say that.
No, you
really
do not.
don't. 8 touchdowns in the game that's records right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's any record over there, Ben, but man,
I think it might have to be.
That's a crazy game right there. But I mean, the rest of this list too. I mean, there's some great games out here, and some big games obviously too. So Week 5 is definitely a little bit. It had some energy to it, definitely.
So if you're keeping track at home, that's 2 quarterbacks now. Oak Grove's quarterback, Jackson Braggley, who's only a sophomore. He was our Week 3 Player of the Week. So you have 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and 1 wide receiver right now. So as far as the tally for Player of the Week, and if you're also keeping track, 4 of the 5 are from North Louisiana. Oh, wow. So South Louisiana better
you gotta step it up, man.
You gotta step it up. Well, that was it for our list. And if you were wondering about, why isn't this player? He threw for 7 touchdowns. Y'all didn't even mention him. And this guy ran for 5 touchdowns. Y'all didn't even mention him. Well, have your coaches submit the Player of the Week to us. They'll get an email. They'll get a text. In fact, I'm going to say right here that if they haven't received anything from me on Friday, my email is going to be up on the screen as you're watching it, jacematthewlejeune@gmail.com. So if you haven't received anything from then, just email me back. I'll email you a form to fill out for Gridiron Football Player of the Week. So for Week 6, we're going to pass the halfway point of the season. We're going to still do this during the playoffs too, but it's going to be less and less because of the playoff teams that are still available. But we still got about 5 more weeks of the regular season, so keep advantage of that. Take advantage of that. If you have a player that you feel like is our Player of the Week, please send us your nomination. All of these players we talked about were sent by coaches, so send your nomination. The deadline is Sunday night at 6:00 p.m. So this Sunday night will be the deadline for Week 6 Player of the Week. Tyler, any final thoughts? Anything as far as your plans for the week for Gridiron Football? I know you talked about Madison Prep. You're going to the game at Port Allen. Is what they're playing this week. Yep. So anything going on? I know the Coach's Corner. You're probably going back with that this week.
Yeah.
Anything going on in Gridiron Football we should talk about?
Yeah. I mean, for the Coach's Corner, I'm really sure. I definitely plan on getting a defense coordinator, Coach Sutton, on there for sure. But before that, I definitely want to get Landry Williams, head coach, on there for sure. I'm trying something new, kind of just get a bunch of different assistant coaches on there, kind of get their viewpoints of, their core guys, because, they're the ones with them, all the time, practicing all the time. So I just want to make sure, I branch out to everyone and get all their, kind of takeaways from their players and, the games. But along with that, I got a couple other things. I talked to St. Thomas More coach in Connecticut.
Okay.
Great Ernest Anderson, great conversation I had with him. So I'll be doing that for school spotlight. Been meaning to reach out to a couple schools. I know DeMatha, definitely been trying to reach out to them in Maryland, and then Don Bosco up in New Jersey. So those are definitely some good high-ranked teams up there. I know DeMatha is very high-ranked up there in the top 25 in max preps, and Don Bosco isn't so far from them too. So
Right.
I'll be looking out to reach to those head coaches, and then a couple players. Obviously, I got a player from Blair Academy that I actually be talking to this week soon, and
Okay.
a couple more after that. Hopefully, I'll try to get some more out from the Connecticut area since I've been talking to Coach Anderson. But it's been going great so far.
Yeah, keep up with Tyler, Will, who's with us too, and he's doing an excellent job with Scotlandville covering them. But he's been posting articles throughout the week. So Luke as well. Luke covers Bel Air. He's been writing some lacrosse articles for us too, because he's big into lacrosse, and so all three of those guys do a great job, and they'll put articles for us each and every day. And then myself, obviously a lot of LSU football coverage you'll be getting from me. This week, actually, I want to talk about some of the notes from the press conference from Brian Kelly if you missed it. Also, I'm going to be talking about some of my takeaways from the LSU Auburn game and of course, later in the week, we're going to talk a lot about LSU Tennessee this week too. And then I'm going to preview some high school football games, some of the top games in Louisiana for this week. So we got a whole lot for you. If you missed it, I did an interview with Trey Holly, who's a rushing football king in Louisiana high school football history. Check that interview out. That's on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. We got a lot of stuff for you for the Chase with Jace, which will actually be tomorrow night. Last week was a huge show. I would go back and check it. It was a star-studded list. When you have Marcus Randall coming in doing the Chase with Jace as always, but you have Trey Holly, the rushing king, LSU running back commit. You have Amarion Miller's a Nebraska commit and was their top performer from last week. You have Manny High School head coach Jess Curtis, who's coaching the number 1 team in Class 2A in the state of Louisiana. So it was a loaded show. Go back and check that show out, and this should be a great show in Chase with Jace again. Lastly, I want to say, if you received an invite through Twitter, you get notified on that if you're a high school football player that gets invited to the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. Please jump on it. DM us a message just saying, hey, I want to play in the Gridiron Football game, and we'll send you an email with all the information you need to know. We'll help you out, but we need to know if you want to play in the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game, and the deadline for that is November 1st. So please send in your DM to us if you want to play in the bowl game. So that's pretty much about it, Tyler. Another big week in Louisiana high school football, and with a lot of great performers in week 5. We'll see you next week too for week 6, a Gridiron Football Player of the Week. But until then, just want to say thank you to all the high school coaches. Once again, that's in a nomination, and congratulations to Benton quarterback Gray Walters, who was our Gridiron Football Player of the Week. For Tyler, for Will, I'm Jace. We'll see y'all next week on next week's edition for the Player of the Week show. Well, hope you enjoyed that, and if you watched our Player of the Week show this past, actually yesterday, when we did the show, myself and Tyler Barrows and Will Lamphere did a great job at editing those videos that you saw, those highlight videos during the video. So big kudos out to Will for helping us with the highlights. Now, what we do here at Gridiron Football, not only we get to talk about you and your performance at Gridiron Football for being Player of the Week, we actually get to interview you too. And not only did I get to interview Gray Walters, who went off, by the way, 500 yards, 8 touchdown passes. I had to include our number 2 Gridiron Football Player of the Week too, as well, and Pearce Russell, who had 4 touchdown catches, 273 yards. Check out my interview with this dynamic quarterback wide receiver duo from Benton High School, Gray Walters, the quarterback, and Pearce Russell at receiver. Check out this interview from this. But the reason I got y'all two on here is because of Gridiron Football. We have our Player of the Week that we do every single week, and then Coach Moore. Now these are all like from North Louisiana to South Louisiana. This is everybody. and the coaches send in their nomination. And then when Coach Moore sent me nomination for both of y'all, I'm like, okay, I think we found our winner. It didn't take long. But congratulations. Y'all two are actually our top two players for Gridiron Football Player of the Week. So congratulations, Gray and Pearce. I mean, that was an excellent performance that y'all did Friday night against Bird. And before I go into it, just talk about what that means for both of y'all to be the top two players of the week. Gray, you're first, and then Pearce can follow up with that.
Feels good. Couldn't do it without my guy right here.
Yeah, we'll definitely go over it too. So I know that y'all both seniors, y'all played a lot of football together. But is it just comes, just second nature to y'all? Just like, okay, I see one-on-one on Pearce. I'm gonna just throw the football up to him and see what happens.
Yeah, basically. So it's kind of what they tell me too. If you got Pearce one-on-one, just give him a shot.
And we'll go over the stats. So it's like Madden numbers. It's like I'm not even sure if I play a game of Madden, I can even actually put up those numbers. It was so crazy. But first with you, Gray, you threw for 515 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's still unbelievable. Pearce, you had 12 catches, 273 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's unbelievable. First, I'm gonna go to you, Pearce. Did you ever have a game statistically that was close to that one?
No, not really. I mean, last year it was close, like 200 yards against Shreve, but I've never had that many touchdowns or yards in a game. Nothing close to that.
Yeah, I know you're the program's all-time leading receiver, so I know you had a lot of really good games over your career, but did you expect coming into that football game that you would be, having that type of game? Did you feel good entering that night, or did you think that you're going to have that type of performance?
I mean, we for sure come in with confidence every game, but I mean, them being the good team they are, they're 4-0, they have a good defense. I mean, I wouldn't say we expected, crazy numbers like that. We expected to win, but not crazy like that.
And Gray, as far as you statistically, was there a game that came even close to this one that you had?
I think Shreve last year is the closest I've ever been. I think I threw for like 385, 4 touchdowns. I've never been close to that.
And same question I asked Pearce, Gray. Coming in, did anything feel different to you going to this game compared to any other game? Did you feel more confident or anything?
I felt more relaxed than I have been these last couple of weeks.
Okay.
I was going to do better, but I didn't think I was going to throw for 508 touchdowns.
Did y'all realize, like, when y'all first realized that's what the stat line was? Was it like after the game, like, oh yeah, by the way, you threw for 500 yards? And I'm sure you kept track of the touchdowns, but did you ever thought about that many yards and everything?
I thought it was close, but I didn't think it was at 500 yards.
Same with you, Pearce. You didn't think you were
Yeah,
close?
I really had no clue. I mean, because we had a lot of guys getting involved too in the passing game, so everybody was scoring. So we didn't really. I really had no clue until after the game. Somebody told me.
And going throughout the state this year, actually, I looked up and we talk about all the great players and all the great offensive players in the state. But actually, like top 3 in offense, Benton's the top 3 scoring offense in the whole state right now. So I know the last 2 games, actually last 3. I mean, you go 3 weeks ago, y'all scored 35 points and y'all lost. Y'all scored 52 points against Arch Manning and Newman. Y'all lost again. And then y'all played Airline last week. In fact, 2 of Airline's players were in the top 5 last week. So, 75 points. I know y'all putting up over 50 points a game. Y'all have to think to yourselves what we have to do to actually win. But just talk about the performance to come against Bird and, kind of get off the schneid and get that win and score over 60 points like y'all been doing.
Well, the defense played great against Bird. We've had some problems with special teams a while, but they gave up 1. But other than that, special teams played a lot better and defense played really good against Bird, and that allowed us to get the ball more often and score more often.
And Gray, what do you think about just having this type of performance even more, considering that you were on a 3-game losing streak before that?
Feels good. Finally get back on track, get to winning.
Yeah. It always this type of performance makes it even better, knowing that y'all are on top and y'all won the football game. Because I know y'all scored a lot of points, and especially with just everything going on. But I know a lot of the headlines are regards to both of y'all and what you're able to do offensively. But first, I'm gonna go to you, Gray. Just give a shout out to all the guys. besides y'all two that makes this possible?
Andy Lim is a really big piece of the offense. Tight end, super back, slot receiver. He played, I think he had like 130 against Bird and 2 touchdowns. He played really good. And then Jeff, our second drive, scored an 82-yard touchdown on the post.
Okay. Pearce, any guys want to give a shout out to for what they're able to do that night too?
Well, yeah, what opens up our passing game is our run game, though. To Greg Manning and our whole line, they're great. They're great at running the football. So whenever they want to come play in the box and leave the receivers one-on-one with no help, that's when we can pass, is when, they respect our run game. So.
And I go over this with all the players of the week too. I know stats are nice, but I want you both to grade your performance and how you think you did. So if you had to give yourself a grading scale, what grade would you give yourself off that game? I mean, an A, or do you think you can do even better than that?
I think I could do a little better than that. I had some mistakes. I had a fumble 6, so I'll give like a B+ for the fumble. Fumble messes it up.
B+. What about you, Pearce? What grade would you give yourself?
Yeah, probably a high B. I missed some blocking assignments, stuff people don't see on some routes, that you got to clean up for weeks 10, 11, 12,
Okay. So as far as a player, I mean, a favorite play in that game, Gray, what was your favorite? You had 8 touchdown passes. So, I mean, all of them are great. But if you had to put one over the other, what do you think was your favorite throw of the night?
Probably the one I threw one to Pearce. I think it was his 4th touchdown. I rolled out to my right and threw it to him on a dig, and he made a bunch of guys miss. I think he made 3 guys miss on the sideline.
Okay. Having that same chemistry, Pearce, was that your favorite play of the game too?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go with that one too. I'm going to have to agree on that.
Okay. And also about your relationship between y'all two. Y'all both seniors. Y'all both played a lot of football. Y'all both top of the program as far as like records and everything. How far does this relationship between y'all two go back? I mean, as far as friendship and playing together, how long have y'all two played with each other?
We started playing baseball together when we were 4, and we've played everything together since then.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with just y'all growing up like since 4 years old. I mean, that's saying a lot. Y'all have a chemistry together that not a lot of other people can say that they have. And I'm sure that played a lot in that win and just over the careers for both of y'all and what y'all are able to do. Just give like a message to everybody out there. And Gray too, I'm gonna start with you first. Just because everybody's talking about the quarterbacks this year. It's a quarterback loaded state this year. Everybody talks about Arch Manning and Ricky Collins, all these quarterbacks in South Louisiana. But what y'all able to do in North Louisiana, y'all showed y'all got some great quarterbacks as well. So get your pitch to everybody. I mean, Benton's like the top 3 scoring offense in the state. You threw 8 touchdowns, 500 yards. Why you should be mentioned as one of the top quarterbacks in the state?
Can you reset that?
Yeah, why you should be mentioned as one of the top quarterbacks in the state? What is your pitch to colleges or just the state in general, saying, "Hey, don't forget about me. I'm up there with the best of them."
Well, just tell them to look at the stats. Watch film.
Yep. The numbers speak for themselves, and for you, Pearce, too, because I know you go under the radar too as a wide receiver, and I'm still scratching my head why you haven't gotten more offers than you've had. But this is another loaded receiver state this year. I mean, one of them was actually a player of the week last week, and Marion Miller from North Caddo, and another one was everybody knows about Shelton Sampson at Catholic High, but talk about your game, and why you are one of the best receivers in the state.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody has their different traits. I'm cool with a lot of them. So, so it's kind of, you don't want to say too much because everybody. But, I mean, you can just check it out. And, we're going to put up a lot of points over here at Benton. So.
And a confidence booster this week for y'all, getting the win. Birds a good program. We know they're a really good football program, and anytime you can be a team like that, that's very impressive in your own right. But how confident has the team been, just not offensively, because I know y'all have always been confident on offense, but as a team in general coming off a win like that?
Well, practice has been way better. There's way more energy at practice. Everybody's ready to go. after last week's win.
Okay. What about you, Pearce? What do you think about just the team energy right now?
Yeah, I think, coming off a tough loss against a team we feel like we should have beat, they beat us that night. And so we were, come back and you got to flush that and then have a lot of confidence. And the defense really brought some confidence, and we've been having pretty good practices so far.
And what team are y'all playing this week?
Natchez Central.
Natchez Central, okay. Anything about Natchez Central that sticks out to both of y'all as far as how they play and what
A
y'all?
lot of space.
Mhm.
A lot of space.
Okay. So that's some good news for y'all. Especially giving Pearce a lot of space. That's not good.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Pearce, what do you think about what you've seen from them on film?
I mean, they're a good team. They got some long athletes. They got an athletic. They're a pretty athletic team. So we're still gonna have to do our part and take care of business in that game.
Last question, guys. Just ranking with the Benton offense. I'm sure you're probably as confident as everybody, but do y'all believe that this is the best offense in the state?
100%.
100%. You too, Pearce?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, with those numbers, I can't argue against you for what y'all were able to do. But I just want to do the Zoom with y'all just to congratulate y'all being our top 2 players of the week for Gridiron Football. That's for the whole entire state. So that's very impressive. I know that y'all been getting some player of the week stuff from other people too. So I know that's been kind of getting in. But that's just what happens when you have stats like that. But anyway, congratulations on the player of the week awards too. Good luck the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll be catching both of y'all pretty soon. But once again, congratulations. That was an incredible performance by the both of y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hopefully you enjoy the interview, and I appreciate Coach Moore for setting this one up, and also the Benton Tigers. Congratulations on a big victory against C.E. Bird, and that took them off the schneid as well after losing 3 games in a row. Also, I have to give a shout out to Coach Terrence Smith for Benton for making this all possible. Now, let's before we go to the commercial break, just want to say, all the high school football coaches out there, we appreciate you sending in your player nomination, and that's what you get if you're a Gridiron Football Player of the Week. You are a top guy who put your picture on our website. We also show the players' highlights. We do an interview with the top player of the week. But it's not just the top player of the week. We also list the top performances. And this week, we had about 22 coaches send us their player of the week nomination. And the top 15 were actually, we showed their highlights. We mentioned everybody that was listed. Every player that was sent by a coach this past week, we mention them. No matter they're number 1 or honorable mention or top 10, top 15, it doesn't matter. We'll mention everybody on the show, the Player of the Week show. So by Friday, once again, my PSA goes out to all the high school football coaches out there. If you received an email from me, make sure to check that email out. Fill in that form if you have a player that you feel like is our player of the week for Louisiana. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break here, as the due date, once again, is on Sunday. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I have an interview with another coach that made some history this past Friday. Check out who it is and what is it about right here on the Chase with Jace. We'll be right back.
up the bass. They love it when I turn up the bass. They love it when I turn up the bass. They love it when I turn up the bass.
Welcome back to the Chase with Jace, and my last segment here is going to be an interview with, as you mentioned, one of the biggest programs in all of Louisiana high school football, Haynesville High School. When it comes to state championships, John Curtis and Haynesville, they're on the top of the list when it comes to winning state championships in the state of Louisiana. And a lot of those wins for Haynesville comes from the father-son duo, Alton Red Franklin and David Franklin. Well, the father-son duo made history this past Friday as David Franklin became the 57th different head football coach to win over 200 games in Louisiana high school football history. Now the kicker is he and his father are the only father-son duo to have more than 200 wins in Louisiana high school football history. And after Haynesville's 48-0 win this past Friday against Plain Dealing to give them that 200th win, I got the chance to speak with Coach David Franklin about getting the 200 wins and sharing that moment with his dad, the legend, Alton Red Franklin. Check it out. Yeah, I just want to talk to you about just last week and the milestone, which is by the way, congratulations, Coach, on getting
Thanks.
win
Appreciate
200.
that.
Yes, sir. I know it's still need just a couple of games to catch up with your dad, huh?
I don't know how many he's got, but I know it's more than that. So take a while to do that.
Still, very impressive 200 wins, and this is the first father-son duo in Louisiana high school football history to get more than 200 wins for the both of y'all. Just what does that mean? Just really sharing that with your dad.
Well, first of all, he was a really good coach, and of course he put a lot into it. But there was also a lot of good football players through the years, and a lot of really good assistant coaches through the years. And I was able to coach with him for a few years, and that was certainly enjoyable to be able to do that. And but we haven't changed a whole lot through the years. I've kind of carried on what he's done. Of course, I think that's one of the things that made him a really good coach is he was able to change with the time. Not a whole lot. He changed what needed to be changed or changed what needed to be changed. But we're still doing a lot of the same things that we did back when he was coaching, and it's been successful, and it continues to be successful. So, but it has been an enjoyable experience.
And some of the things that you picked up from your dad, I know with the coaches, it's always about the little things, picking up little things from your dad and being on the same coaching staff with your dad and seeing all the great teams he coached and being around that program for such a long time. What are just some of the biggest things that you've taken away from your dad when he was on the sideline?
I think you hit it right on the head. It really was just the little things. And I think that it's not, winning and losing is certainly important. There's nobody that likes to win and nobody that hates to lose more than myself. I hate it. And I really like to win. But I think that, the biggest thing, and it wasn't something that I just learned overnight. It took me a while to figure that out, that we really are particular about coaching the little things here and those little things and not just the little things. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned here is it's not just the little things of football, it's the little things of life and taking care of, teaching the kids right and wrong and, trying to help them and, mold them into, better citizens and good kids. And I think that because of teaching those little things, then, it kind of goes along with being successful, and we've been able to be successful because of that.
When the first year you did take the job over for your dad, did you ever think about just like really trying to fill his shoes and all that? Because I know it was a lot of pressure anytime you can fill somebody like that with what he was able to do throughout the years, winning state championships and winning over close to 400 games. Did you ever thought about it was going to be some big shoes trying to fill, especially my dad?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But I think he got out at the wrong time because we won in 2000. We were in the semifinals and had a really good chance to win in 2001. And then he retired in 2002, and we weren't real good that year. But yeah, it was it was quite intimidating for a little while because we didn't have a good year that year, and we got better and better as years go on. But he never really said a whole lot. I only can think of one time that he really just said, "Hey, you need to do this." A lot of people were saying, "Well, your daddy's just coaching it. You're just the head coach." That's not the way it is. But he told me one time, he said, "You need to stay off the referees. You need to worry about coaching and get off the referees." And that's really the only thing that he really ever told me. That he told me some things, but that's really the only other that really told me that I needed to do. So yeah, it was a little intimidating for a while. Sure was.
Yeah, and I guess at what point I'm sure your dad did give you a lot of advice and everything, but at what point did you just kind of settle into the role, just like that this is your team, and I know a lot of people in Haynesville that this is a prideful community as far as like the winning culture and winning they know what the fans know what it means for Haynesville football. So just at what point did you really feel comfortable in really accepting that role?
Well, let me back up and say this first.
Sure.
This has been an honor. To be recognized with 200 wins, that's an honor. I honestly had no idea. I don't keep up with that. It's really not that important to me. But there's been beside me, there's been a lot of assistant coaches through the years that are really, really good friends that have worked equally as hard as I have. And they don't always sometimes get credit for this kind of thing, but before I can say anything, I certainly have to recognize them and just thank them so much for the hard work, because it's been a team effort here. Mm-hmm. And along with that, just the really good athletes. There's only so much you can do if you don't have good athletes, but we've been blessed to have not only good athletes, but good kids here. So I had to say that first, but I think, maybe in 2009 when we won the championship, I think that's kind of when I felt like, we've done a really good job here, and it's kind of some pressure taken off when you finally win a championship. So I think probably then that was a unique moment, and in a really a game that it was a tough game with South Plaquemine. So we at some point we kind of thought we can win this thing, and we did, and it was just a fun moment.
And I know obviously you still got a lot of coaching ahead of you. But when you hit 200 wins, do you go often reflect on some of the really good memories? I know that the 3 state championships and the 15 district titles in all those years, like having an accomplishment like that, does it allow you to reflect and go back to some of those big moments with winning like 200 games?
Oh, absolutely. We had a kid come in last, I guess it was last Thursday, kid that played on our 2013 state championship team. And I absolutely love it when that happens. I love when kids come back and, it just kind of makes you feel like you've accomplished a whole lot more than winning a state championship. And that's, you're seeing a kid that's successful in life. And that really means a lot to me when these kids come back and you get to see who they are and what they're doing, and just to be there and then let them talk to our kids and say, look, this is a guy that's, he's done this, he did this, but look where he is now and stuff like that. So to me, that's just a really fun part of it.
Yeah, it must be great to have you and your dad were part of you've seen generations of families go through the program. Like, I'm sure you've probably seen like a kid on the football team now and their dads before them played for Haynesville. So it was like just being involved with generations of families going through this program.
It is. There's several, when I first started, it was I'm playing with the guys' kids that I played with, and now I'm playing with I'm coaching their kids now. So and it just goes on, but that's what makes it fun. And I can compare these kids. Hey, your daddy didn't do it like that, or hey, your daddy did this, or so and so. So they're like, oh, okay. So we're able to relate back to who they were, and it just kind of makes it. These kids, they do have a lot of pressure on them here because they're expected to do well. We expect them to do well, but more importantly, the community is just, they expect that, and it's sometimes a lot of pressure on these kids to be able to have to deal with all that.
I mean, if you look across the whole state as far as state championships, I mean, it's going to come down to Haynesville and John Pearce. I mean, as far as like who's won the most state championships. But besides that fact of it, what do you think's been the main reason for the success that both you and your dad achieved at Haynesville?
Number one, I can say this. I think that ever since my daddy's been in charge and I've been in charge, we put God first, and I'll have to say that that's important to us. That's important to teach these kids that. I guess I can say this right now. Sometimes that's not politically correct, but here it is. And so I definitely think that God has blessed us, and it's just been it's been a fun place to coach and place to teach. But I think I go back to what I said a while ago that we've been blessed with good assistant coaches. We've been blessed with good athletes, but I think that our coaches and our athletes have worked extremely hard. I'm not going to just sit here and say we've had good athletes and that's it. That's not it. It's just a combination of the community, the kids, the coaching, and it's just made a good formula and it's been successful throughout the years because of that.
Let's talk about this year's team, Coach. Right now, y'all looking really good right now. Y'all coming off a very impressive win, which was your 200th win, and now we're looking ahead to a big-time matchup this week. I believe y'all playing Oak Grove this Friday.
Yes.
So we know Oak Grove and Haynesville.
Oh, yeah.
Those are live state championships combined with the two, and it should be a really good football game. But before talking about Oak Grove this week, what do you like from your team so far, how they played through the first about halfway point of the season?
We were really young last year, and we didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. Certainly in two of the ball games we played in last year, but our kids have worked really hard over the summer, and we've gotten a lot stronger than what we were. And our confidence of the way we play has, gotten a lot better. I don't think we're at even close to where we can be yet. And I've been waiting on that week after week. But it is there. I think we have a good football team. It's just, there's a lot of good football teams out there right now, and I think we're going to have a really good test with Oak Grove this Friday, because I know what to expect out of them. I know they've changed their offense a little bit now, but it's still Oak Grove, and I know how they're going to play. And it's an honor to be able to play somebody like that, because they are, there's just a traditionally really, really good football program. So we're excited about that. And then you get to play Homer in there in the last ball game, and that's certainly going to be a challenge. So it's a good year, but we got some really big ball games ahead of us. That's not going to just determine what's going to happen in that ball game, but it's going to determine, where you go in power rankings and stuff like that. So, Been good so far. We had one loss that was kind of hurt a little bit, but we're going. Sometimes you learn from those, and we have, and hopefully we can move past that and do good in these next few games.
Yeah, if anything, I know everybody was talking a lot about your 200th win, but really, if anything, last week, I'm sure you're even more proud of the fact that your team rebounded after the loss the previous week.
That's right. We put a lot into that game against Glenbrook, coaching prior to that game, and things just didn't work out. They got a really good football team. I don't think we were ever really in it. It just kind of hit us quick, and our eyes were open big, and we never really got settled in and never really played. So I don't think we had a really good game, but they had a really good game. So, that kind of hurt a little bit because we did put a lot into that week. So, we'll rebound from that, and we did last week. And I really like our schedule. We got that open date last year, and I called Coach Gregory, and ended up being us that matched up. So we're excited about that game for sure.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a really good one Friday night.
yeah.
Looking forward to seeing covering that for y'all and seeing what happens. And then obviously we can't overlook Homer. The biggest rivalry, the oldest rivalry in high school football. So that's always special. But Coach, just wrapping up with 2 more questions. First about the team. Besides obviously winning the football game Friday, what do you really want to see your team really take the next step in doing after Friday night?
Like I said before, I'm very competitive. I don't like to lose at anything, but I say this week after week. It's more about how you play the game, and we don't like to lose, but sometimes it's hard to win when you don't play very good. But it's hard to also lose when you don't play very good either. But we need to just play well. I don't think that I've seen our kids play their best game yet. I don't think I've seen them play at the level that I think they can play at. We played our first 2 games that were both nail biters, and I saw signs of us playing really hard, but we made mistakes that kept us from playing a complete game. So I'm looking for the game to where our kids are playing that hard, but we eliminate some of those mistakes, and I think that's yet to come.
And last question, Coach Franklin. I appreciate your time as always for doing this little chat with
Sure.
us. And my last question for you, Coach, is like I mentioned before, with you and your dad, y'all both have over 200 wins. And I'm sure it's something that y'all can always share with each other for until the end of time. But just having that record and just seeing what that means, because there's only about like 57 of these coaches that actually have 200 wins or more in the state. Just what you think about it being so unique that it was actually you and your dad that actually get to share that with all those 50 other coaches.
That's something special. I remember when I first started coaching, going to coaching clinics, and he knew everybody there, and I'm just like, who are all these people? How do you know all these people? Well, now it's kind of the same way. I'm kind of in that spot, but to be able to see some of those guys and the success they've had, and that's why you go to coaching clinics. You learn from those type of people. So we've learned a lot through the years. I've learned a lot from him, and I enjoy the time that we got to coach together. I'm still enjoying times we get to watch my oldest son play ball on Saturdays. We get to go up and he goes to the home games, which is enjoyable to sit and watch and do. But it's just been a family effort here, not just my family, just our assistant coaches and the community, everybody involved. It's a group effort, and it's just been an enjoyable time, and I hope it continues to be that way.
Well, the Franklin legacy is continuing to live on here at Haynesville High School. I know you're looking forward to try to get win number 201 on
It'll be tough, but we're going to try. Just one. I don't know about 201. Just one.
Yes, sir, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck
Thank you.
Friday, and then good luck the rest of the season as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. A great interview with Coach David Franklin. I appreciate Coach Franklin's time for letting me do the interview with him through Zoom, and that was a great conversation with Coach Red Franklin and David Franklin, creating history at Haynesville High School, both with over like 600 wins between them, a lot of state championships between the two of them, and Franklin legacy continues still at Haynesville High School. Well, that's going to be the end of the show for today for the Chase with Jace. It's a short show because there's a lot of stuff going on here at Gridiron Football. obviously on our website. I cover a lot of LSU and high school football in Louisiana. So if you missed last week's show, I truly encourage. I think it was the best show that we've done so far to this point with all the interviews that we've done. You look at North Caddo with Marion Miller. We go to Union Parish with Trey Holly. We go to Maine High School with Jess Curtis. We talked to Marcus Randall about LSU. It was a great show. It was a good show, too, today. And I appreciate David Franklin, Coach Reynolds Moore for Benton High School, Gray Waters, Pearce Russell, for all taking in on this week's edition of the show. Make sure to keep up with everything that's going on at Gridiron Football. We have a lot of game previews this week for Louisiana High School football. I just wrote a preview on a recap on LCA and the Voiles, that football game. Our own Jason Saucier took a lot of pictures from that football game, so check it out. And then I obviously my takeaways from LSU and Auburn heading to Tennessee. We'll preview Tennessee, LSU later in the week. We'll recap the LSU-Tennessee game at the end of the week. And we have a couple more high school previews for you, too. And before I leave with this, here is some of the highlights I went to from my last game, which was actually Amite and Kentwood, the two historic programs in Tangipahoa area. Check out these highlights real quick, and then I'll wrap up the show after that.
It's going to be a very good game on tonight. Hope you got your voices and your tonsils ready. Tackle made by number 44 for the Warriors, Jeremy Robinson. Pass completed. That's going to bring it fourth down.
Hold it, man. Hold it.
Pass is completed. First down for the Kangaroos. Traffic jam right there.
Right down! Right down! Hey, Lamar.
You have less than 5 minutes or it will be over.
Hey, that's home. He didn't make no first.
Second half, I'm not gonna hear about it. Their victorious head coach from Amite High School, 7-9 Powell.
Yes.
Powell, huge victory here tonight against Kentwood. We knew it was going to come down to a couple of plays at the end.
Right.
But talk about how your defense performed tonight with their backs against the wall.
Fantastic game. You know, right there they had us pinned down here, and Earl Tillman, a sophomore, made a headsy play. You know, their running back was trying to get the football over the goal line, but he smart enough just to reach over and take it from the guy. And then our offense was able to get us from off of the goal line right there. We were able to punt it, and then we sent our defense back out. It pretty much ended the game for us.
Yeah, it just came up big, time in, time out. Just talk about, you talk about some of those guys making heads-up plays.
Right.
Jeremy Robertson's a leader for your football team.
Yes, Jeremy is the heart and soul of our defense. He's been a 3-year starter for us, and it comes from a great football family, too. But not only Jeremy, Jalen played a great game. Kyle Brumfield played a great game. Ashton Matthews, a whole defensive line played a great game because Kentwood, they've been averaging almost 200 yards running the football, you know, their first 4 to 5 games of the season. So, you know, just to kind of slow them down a little bit and give us opportunities, it was good. It's pretty good way our defense played tonight.
And your defensive end came up with 2 plays at the end to seal the football game.
Yes.
Talk about his play and sealing the deal.
Effort, and that's something that we preach. That's something that goes back to our conditioning, what we do conditioning. That's something that we just teach with our kids. Hey, look, right now you just got to dig deep and go get it, and it was effort.
Offensively, you probably thought it wasn't pretty a lot of times throughout the game.
Right.
You're able to get enough points on the scoreboard, and your quarterback pounding in for a couple of touchdowns here tonight.
Right.
Talk about the offense and how you think they played tonight.
Well, you know, Kentwood, they've been dominant too. You know, I think they've only been giving up about maybe 7 to 8 points a game. I want to say the highest point total they've given up has been the East Feliciana. That was kind of like in the last few phases of the game that they've played, you know. So, but you know, defensively they're tough. You know, speed. Number 0, their defensive tackle. He's a hell of a football player, you know. So, but you know, our offense, we did just enough to make sure that we secured the victory.
And what do you think this type of win means for your football team? That's an undefeated football team.
It's for us. It just builds momentum, you know. But we can't lax because next week we got another tough one in Bogalusa coming in here next week. So you know, it builds momentum. You know, the main thing we have to do now is just get healthy.
And last question, Coach, what do you like most about tonight? I'm sure your defensive effort. Yep.
Just effort. Offensively, defensively, special teams, you know, just effort. You know, we challenged our kids this the start of the week. Effort. This is going to be an effort game tonight.
And they did. And it improved on the scoreboard, Coach. Congratulations on the victory. Enjoy this win with your football.
Hope you enjoyed those highlights, and that was a great football game between Amite and Kentwood, 14-6. Amite improves and ends Kentwood's undefeated season, but great football game between 2 great football programs. And this time I'll actually wrap the show up. Got kind of lost in the schedule, but this is the last time I'll talk to you all until next week. Still a lot of stuff going on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Check that out. Check all the stories going on. We have a lot of great content for you, not only from myself, but everybody involved with Gridiron Football. We got a lot of content for you. High school recaps, game previews, recruit stories, Diamond in the Roughs, LSU content. It goes on and on, but we got a lot of great content for you, and we'll continue to provide that for you during this football season. Hope you all enjoyed the football weekend. We'll recap some of it next week, and we'll try to make it a little bit of a longer show next week as well. I'm Chase With Jace, as I always end here with the Chase With Jace. Everybody is chasing for something. David Franklin, you know, they're chasing a state championship at Haynesville. And obviously, so is the Benton Tigers, led by Gray Walters and Pearce Russell. LSU's chasing a win this Saturday against a really good Tennessee football team. We'll see if the LSU Tigers can pull it out and get the biggest win of the Brian Kelly era. I'm Chase With Jace saying so long, and I'm going to ask y'all, what are y'all chasing for? Have yourself a good weekend, and we'll check back with you next week right here on the Chase With Jace.